I was 12 when it first found me. The rain had been falling all night, thin at first, then harder, like fingers tapping glass. We'd just moved into a forgotten house, somewhere in the rot of rural Missouri, the kind of place where fog clings low and the trees never stop whispering. It was early, 5:23 a.m. My eyes snapped open without reason. No noise, no dream, just sudden mechanical wakefulness. My room was skeletal, just a twin bed, a nightstand with a ticking clock, and a bookshelf stripped bare. The air sat wrong, too cold, too still. I lay frozen, watching the numbers blink red in the dark. My ears rang. Something was listening to me breathe. Then I felt it. That ancient instinct buried in all of us, the raw, electric dread of being watched. My eyes crept to the foot of my bed. Someone was standing there. Small, motionless, shaped like a child. Maybe it's my brother, I thought, Xander. 7 years old, sleepwalking, maybe. My voice came out dry, cracked. Xander, what are you doing? No answer. The figure tilted its head. Xander? I sat up, heartbeat chewing through my chest. It stepped closer. I leaned in. The figure mirrored me, closer, until its face hovered inches from mine. And that's when I knew. This wasn't my brother. It had no face, no eyes, no mouth. Just smooth, leech skin pulled tight over the absence of a skull. White like mold, white like rot. It didn't breathe. It just stared with that nothingness. I screamed. The thing recoiled, flung backward like my voice had struck it. It hit the floor, limbs bending the wrong way, and crawled backwards across the wood with its knees and elbows jerking like a marionette. It dragged itself into the corner, folding into a ball beneath the empty bookshelf. It didn't look at me. It couldn't. It had no eyes. When my mother burst in and flipped the light switch, it vanished. Gone. Only my alarm clock remained, smashed face down across the room. I was shaking so hard I thought my bones would break. I told her everything. I begged her to believe me. She just said I was dreaming. But she let me sleep in her room that night. For 2 weeks, I refused to cross the threshold of mine. The house was never quiet again. At night, we heard soft things. Cups dragging along countertops, the sharp chime of bells from empty rooms, and children's voices murmuring behind closed doors. I'm 23 now, and I know what I saw. I know it wasn't a dream. I asked my mother recently if she ever believed me. She went still. Then she told me she had believed me exactly, but lied because she didn't want me to know we were living with something real. I sleep with the lights on now, always, because I know the second I let the dark swallow the room, it will come back, and this time, it might be closer. I'm a music student at a small town university in Canada. Quiet campus, friendly people, one coffee shop that closes way too early. The kind of place where nothing bad ever happens. It was early May. Everyone had gone home for the summer except me. I stayed back. Needed to prep for a show. I told myself I'd use the break to get better. Hone the craft. Besides, I'd always loved practicing at night. Fewer distractions. Just me, the piano, and the sound of my fingers trying to turn time into something beautiful. The school gave me a key to the old rehearsal building. You'd honestly miss it if you didn't know it was there, sitting quiet just past the woods across the marsh where the trees start to lean funny and the ocean air stinks of rot and rust. The building used to be a theater workshop. Now, it's just a forgotten maze of hallways, empty rooms, old stairwells that lead nowhere, and the walls still carry the scent of sawdust and wet cement. And yet, I never felt uneasy there. Not once. Not during my classes, not even when I stayed late. But that changed. One night, one stupid, quiet night. I'd been rehearsing for hours in this large, dusty room I cleaned up and claimed for myself. It was tucked in the back, accessible only through two separate doors, one from the main hall and the other through a percussion room. That room became my sanctuary. I dragged in a lamp, a few rugs, some gear, and just overall made it feel less like a tomb. And there was this weird hole in the wall. A square gap maybe 1.5 feet wide. Looked like where a vent used to be or something. Nothing fancy. Just a dark little square cut into the concrete. For no reason at all, I covered it with a sheet of thin plastic I found while cleaning. It crinkled when the wind moved through the building, but it was better than staring into a black square while I played, right? That night, I lost track of time. I remember playing something slow, minor key, almost funeral-like, and then I heard it. The hallway door click, open, close. I froze. But then I remembered there were a few other students staying during the summer. Probably just someone grabbing a cable or dropping off gear, right? A few minutes later, I heard more voices, familiar ones. Some students returning equipment from a gig. One of them knocked on the door, said, "Hey," and I felt safe again. Until it was just me. By the time the clock hit 1:30 a.m., I knew I'd overstayed. I started to pack up quietly, methodically, and then footsteps. On the other side of the big double doors. Slow, deliberate, heavy like soaked cloth. I stopped moving and held my breath. I stared at the crack beneath the door, waiting to see if someone was just passing by. But the footsteps didn't walk past. They stopped right at the door. And that's when the plastic over the hole made a sound. A sharp flutter, like something had brushed against it. I turned my head, and through the translucent plastic, I saw movement. A shadow bent down, pressed close, and then an eye, level with the hole, watching me, still, unblinking. It vanished the moment I saw it, but I saw enough. Dark hair, brown jacket, skin like paper. None of the students matched that. Security would have said something. Security always says something. They knock, they shout, they demand ID. They don't hide, they don't watch. I whispered, "Hello?" My voice sounded alien in that room. Small, weak, no answer. Just the silence and the growing scream of my pulse. I sat frozen for 5 minutes, maybe 10. No footsteps, no voices, no sound at all. Then, very faint, I heard it. The slow shuffle of someone walking away, fabric swishing, jeans rubbing, a coat dragging. Not fast, not scared, just leaving. Like they had seen what they had came to see. I didn't even finish packing. I grabbed my bag, left most of my gear, and bolted through the fire exit. Didn't look back until I hit the road. Even then, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed me as far as it was allowed. I never found out who or what was behind that wall. Never saw that shadow again. Never stayed past midnight either. I told security, but they just brushed it off. Said I was probably just tired or overworked or something. But that hole, I went back the next day. The plastic was gone. Not torn, not fallen, just gone. Like it had never been there. Like I had never been there. Sometimes late at night when I walk past the building, I swear I can feel something watching me through the bricks. And the worst part, I think it knows I saw it. And I think it's still waiting for me to come back. During the pandemic, I lived in a cracked, threadbare apartment building that seemed to swallow sound whole. My place was on the ground floor, opening straight onto the street with no walls or gates to shield me from the night. Next to my building stretched a dead parking lot, empty, silent, and lined with bushes that clawed at the edges like fingers desperate to hold on to something. Every night before bed, I took my dog out. A Saluki mix, a skeletal frame draped in fur moving like a whisper in the dark. Loyal, alert, but that night, something changed. We stepped outside, the air thick and heavy, smelling faintly of decay and rust. He did his business without complaint, but when I turned to head back inside, he stopped, stiffened like stone. His eyes fixed somewhere beyond me, below the dark shadow of bushes. No bark, no warning growl, just a frozen, tense silence. His head dipped low, muscles taut like a coiled wire. Curiosity and dread tangled inside of me. I looked where he was looking. There, crouched in the thorny clutch of bushes, a man waited. Hood pulled tight, face hidden behind a mask, only his eyes visible, cold and sharp as knives. He stared, not blinking, not moving, watching us like a predator with a slow, cruel hunger. I didn't breathe. My throat seized. The world compressed into that one horrifying moment. My feet refused to move. I was trapped by terror that rooted me in place. I forced a whisper, yelling for my roommate to get the gun. We didn't have one, but that man had no way of knowing. Slowly, as if his patience was endless, the figure turned and vanished back into the suffocating darkness of the bushes, swallowed by shadows that felt alive. I yanked my dog inside, his body trembling as if he sensed the nightmare wasn't over. That night, for the very first time, I called the police. I reported the lurking horror that watched me from steps away. After that, patrol cars sat in the lot, their headlights slicing through the darkness, trying to keep the unseen at bay. But no patrol could chase away that feeling that something was still waiting. Every night after, I stood at my door with my dog, staring out at those bushes, waiting, listening, wondering if the eyes would ever return. And here's the thing, sometimes in the dead quiet of my sleep, I still feel those eyes, watching, waiting, right outside my window.